This is not a comfortable message. In fact, it might challenge everything you believe about your life. Because most people don't stay stuck by accident. They stay stuck by habit, by patterns they refuse to question, by truths they avoid. And the more they avoid these truths, the longer they remain exactly where they are, unhappy, unfocused, undisciplined, waiting for something to change. But nothing changes, because they are not changing. This is where Stoicism becomes powerful, not because it makes you feel good, but because it forces you to see clearly. And clarity is uncomfortable, because it removes excuses, it removes illusions, it removes the stories you tell yourself to stay comfortable. But it also gives you something most people never gain: control, real control, over your thoughts, your actions, your life. The Stoics did not teach comfort. They taught truth. And truth is often brutal. But if you're willing to hear it, to accept it, and to apply it, it can completely transform your life. So if you're ready, here are the brutal Stoic truths most people avoid, but desperately need. If you want more content that builds a disciplined and powerful mind, subscribe to the channel. Because this is where change begins. 1. No one is coming to save you. This is the first truth, and it is the hardest to accept. No one is coming. No one is going to fix your life for you. No one is going to suddenly appear and give you discipline, give you clarity, give you purpose. And yet, most people live as if someone will. They wait, they hope. They expect something external to change their situation. A better opportunity, a better environment, a better moment. But that moment rarely comes, and even when it does, they are not ready for it, because they never prepared. They never took responsibility. They never built themselves. This is the trap: waiting instead of acting, hoping instead of building. A strong person understands something different. If anything is going to change, it must begin with them, their actions, their habits, their decisions. This realization can feel heavy, because it removes comfort, it removes excuses, it forces you to face reality, but it also gives you power. Because the moment you stop waiting, you start acting. The moment you stop expecting help, you start building yourself. And that is where real change begins. Not outside of you, but within you, because the first step is awareness, J, and action is the next. And that's exactly why you must rise. 2. Your life is a reflection of your habits. Most people want change, but very few are willing to change their habits. They want better results without better actions. They want success without discipline. They want growth without discomfort. And because of this, they stay stuck. Because your life is not shaped by what you want. It is shaped by what you do, daily, repeatedly, consistently. Every habit you repeat is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every action reinforces your identity, and over time those small actions compound. They create your reality. If you wake up late every day, you become someone who lacks discipline. If you avoid difficult tasks, you become someone who avoids growth. If you constantly distract yourself, you become someone who cannot focus. This is not judgment. It is cause and effect. And once you understand this, you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop looking for quick fixes. You focus on habits. Because habits create outcomes. A strong person does not chase results. They build systems, they build routines, they build habits that align with the life they want. And over time, those habits produce results naturally. This is the difference between wishing for change and creating it. Each day you are building your future, through what you repeat, through what you tolerate, through what you do. If this truth is making you reflect on your habits, that's a good sign, because awareness creates change, and your habits are building your future right now. 3. Comfort is keeping you weak. Comfort feels good. It feels safe. It feels easy. But it is also one of the biggest reasons people never grow. Because growth requires discomfort. It requires effort. It requires doing things that are not easy. And most people avoid that. They choose comfort instead. They choose what feels good now over what will make them better later. And over time, that choice weakens them. Not immediately, but gradually. They become less disciplined, less focused, less resilient, because they are not challenging themselves, they are not pushing their limits, they are not growing. The Stoics understood this deeply. They did not seek comfort. They trained themselves to endure discomfort, because they knew that strength is built through resistance, not ease. A strong person does not run from difficulty. They face it. They lean into it. They use it as a tool for growth. Each time you choose discomfort over comfort, you become stronger. Each time you avoid it, you stay the same. This is the trade, and it is always happening. Every decision you make is either building strength or reinforcing weakness. There is no neutral. If this truth is making you rethink your comfort zone, good, because everything you want is outside of it, because growth begins where comfort ends. 4. You waste more time than you think. Time is the one thing you cannot get back. Not money, not opportunities, not even relationships compared to it, because everything in your life depends on time. And yet, most people waste it without realizing. Not in obvious ways, but in small, repeated moments, scrolling without purpose, watching things that add no value, procrastinating on what matters, telling themselves they'll start later. And those small moments add up. Minutes become hours, hours become days, days become years, until one day they look back and realize how much time was lost. The philosopher Seneca warned that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And that truth is still relevant today, because distractions are everywhere, constantly pulling your attention, constantly offering easy escapes. And most people accept it. They treat time as if it is unlimited, as if there will always be more. But there is not. Every day that passes is gone, forever. And what you do with that day matters. A strong person understands this. They become aware of how they spend their time. They question their habits. They eliminate what is unnecessary, not perfectly, but intentionally. They do not aim to be busy. They aim to be effective, because being busy is easy. Being focused is not. Each time you choose distraction over action, you lose time. Each time you delay what matters, you lose progress. And over time, those losses become significant. This is why awareness matters. Because once you see where your time is going, you can change it. You can redirect it. You can use it better. Each morning when you remind yourself that time is limited, something shifts. You become more intentional, more focused, more disciplined, because now you understand the cost of waste. If this truth is making you rethink how you spend your time, subscribe to the channel, because your future is built with how you use your time today. 5. You avoid what matters most. There is something in your life that you know you should be doing. Something important. Something that would move your life forward. But you keep avoiding it. You delay it. You distract yourself from it. You tell yourself you'll do it later. And later never comes. This is not because you are lazy, it is because you are avoiding discomfort. Because what matters most is often difficult. It requires effort, focus, discipline, and most people resist that. They choose easier tasks, less important tasks, things that feel productive but do not create real progress. And over time, this creates frustration, because deep down, you know you are not doing what matters. You know you are capable of more, but you are not acting on it. This is the conflict, and it drains your energy, your confidence, your sense of direction. The Stoics understood this. They believe that you must face what is necessary, not what is easy. A strong person does not avoid important tasks. They move toward them, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is difficult, because they understand something powerful. Growth is found in what you avoid. Each time you face what you have been avoiding, you build strength, you build confidence, you build momentum, and over time that momentum changes everything. Because now, you are no longer running from discomfort, you are using it. You are turning it into progress. A mentally strong person does not wait until they feel ready. They act. Because action reduces fear. Action builds clarity. Action creates movement. Each morning when you remind yourself to face what matters, something shifts. You stop delaying. You stop avoiding. You begin to move forward. And that movement creates change, real change, because your breakthrough is often hidden in what you resist. Will fix your life. 6. Your thoughts are creating your problems. Most people believe their problems come from the outside, from situations, from other people, from circumstances they cannot control, but the Stoics saw something deeper, something most people never question. Your thoughts are shaping your experience. Not the event itself, but how you interpret it. The philosopher Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to you that matters, but how you respond to it. And that response begins in your mind. Two people can face the same situation and experience it completely differently. One sees difficulty, the other sees opportunity. One feels overwhelmed, the other stays calm. The situation is the same, but the thinking is different. And that difference changes everything. Most people never examine their thinking. They accept every thought as truth. They assume every fear is real, every doubt is valid, every negative interpretation is accurate. And because of that, they create unnecessary suffering. They replay situations, they imagine outcomes, they build problems in their mind that do not exist in reality, and then they react to them. This is the trap. But the 1% does something different. They question their thoughts, they observe them, they do not blindly believe them. They ask, is this true? Is this useful? Is this helping me? And if the answer is no, they let it go. This is where control begins, not by stopping thoughts, but by choosing which ones to follow, because thoughts will come and go. But attention determines which ones grow. If you focus on fear, fear expands. If you focus on clarity, clarity strengthens. If you focus on action, progress begins. Each time you challenge a negative thought, you weaken its control. Each time you replace it with something useful, you strengthen your mind. Over time, this creates a shift. You become calmer, more rational, more in control, because now your mind is not working against you, it is working for you. Each morning when you remind yourself that your thoughts shape your reality, something changes. You become more aware, more intentional, more focused, and that awareness transforms how you experience life, because your mind is the most powerful tool you have. This is the truth most people avoid. They say they want success. They say they want change. They say they want a better life, but their actions do not match. They lack discipline. They rely on motivation. They act when they feel like it. They stop when they don't. And because motivation is temporary, their progress is inconsistent. The Stoics understood something powerful. Discipline is more important than motivation, because motivation fades, but discipline remains. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to do what needed to be done, even when it was difficult, even when he did not feel like it, because he understood that action should not depend on emotion, it should depend on principle. A strong person does not ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" They ask, "Is this necessary?" And if it is, they do it. This is discipline, simple but not easy. Because it requires consistency, it requires effort, it requires doing things you do not feel like doing. But that is where growth happens. Each time you act with discipline, you strengthen your mind, you reduce resistance, you build momentum, and over time, that momentum becomes habit. And habits shape your life. A mentally strong person builds systems, routines, structures that make discipline easier. So they do not rely on motivation, they rely on consistency, because consistency creates results, real results, sustainable results. At first, discipline feels difficult, because it goes against comfort, but over time something changes, it becomes natural, because now you are not forcing yourself to act. You are following your habits, and that is where real power lies, in building habits that align with your goals. Each morning when you remind yourself to act with, something shifts. You stop relying on how you feel, you start relying on what you do, and that creates discipline's consistency, and consistency creates change. If this truth is pushing you to become more disciplined, subscribe to the channel. Because discipline is what turns potential into reality. 8. You must take full responsibility. There is a moment in life that changes everything. A moment when you stop blaming, stop complaining, stop pointing at circumstances, people, or the past, and instead, you take full responsibility. Not partial responsibility, not conditional responsibility. Full responsibility for your life, your choices, your habits, your results. This is not easy, because it removes comfort, it removes excuses, it forces you to face reality. But it also gives you something powerful, control, because the moment you take responsibility, you take back power. Power to change, power to improve, power to act. The Stoics believe that you cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond, and that response shapes your life. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He did not blame the world, he focused on his role within it, on his actions, on his mindset, because he understood that responsibility creates control. A strong person does not say, "This is happening to me." They say, "What can I do about this?" They shift from victim to participant, from passive to active, from waiting to acting. And that shift changes everything. Because now, you are no longer stuck. You are engaged, you are moving, you are creating change. Each time you take responsibility, you grow. Each time you avoid it, you stay the same. This is the choice, and it is always available. Each morning when you remind yourself to take responsibility, something shifts. You stop waiting. You stop blaming. You start acting. And action creates results, real results, because responsibility is where power begins. 9. Consistency changes everything. Most people underestimate consistency. They look for big changes, quick results, instant transformation. But real change does not happen that way. It happens slowly, quietly, through repeated actions, done daily, over time. The Stoics understood this deeply. They did not rely on intensity, they relied on consistency, because consistency compounds. A single action may not seem significant, but repeated actions create momentum, and momentum creates results. A strong person does not focus on doing something once. They focus on doing it again and again and again, until it becomes part of who they are. This is how habits are built. This is how discipline is formed. This is how lives are changed. Each time you repeat a positive action, you reinforce it. You make it easier to do again, and over time it becomes automatic. This is where transformation happens. Not in one moment, but in many moments. Connected by consistency. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack consistency. They start. They stop, they restart, they lose momentum, and because of that, they never see results. But a disciplined person keeps going, even when it is difficult, even when it is boring, even when results are not immediate, because they trust the process. They understand that consistency creates progress, and progress creates results. Each morning, when you remind yourself to stay consistent, something shifts. You stop chasing quick wins. You focus on long-term growth, and that focus creates real change, because consistency is the key to everything. At the end of it all, the truth is simple, but powerful. Your life is a reflection of your choices, not your intentions, not your desires, your choices, the habits you repeat, the actions you take, the thoughts you follow, the discipline you build. This is what shapes your reality, not luck, not circumstances, not external factors alone, but what you do consistently. Most people spend their lives avoiding this truth, because it is uncomfortable, because it requires effort, because it demands change. But those who accept it, those who act on it, those who live by it, experience something different. Control, clarity, progress. Because they stop waiting, they stop avoiding, they stop making excuses, and they start building. Daily, consistently, intentionally. If you made it this far, it means something in you is ready to take control, ready to improve, ready to change. But awareness is not enough. Understanding is not enough. Action is what matters. Take one truth from this video. Apply it today, not tomorrow, not later. Today, because that is where change begins. If this video gave you clarity, if it challenged your thinking, if it pushed you to take responsibility, subscribe to the channel, because this is where you build discipline, this is where you build focus, this is where you build a stronger mind, and when you take control of your mind, you take control of your life.